The World Championship record is equalled. Lewis Hamilton, 7-time champion of the world.
Lewis Hamilton is one of the premier names in Formula One racing, a sport with seemingly endless supplies of cash flowing both in and out. Since his F1 debut in 2007 through his signing with Mercedes in 2013, all the way to the present day, Lewis Hamilton's been raking it in to the tune of around $50+ million a year. Today, his net worth is said to be $285 million. And what does one do with such millions? Spend it, of course. Some of you might ask, how can someone possibly spend that much money? And if that is you, you've come to the right place. Today, we're going to see how Lewis Hamilton spends his millions. Before we get started with a look at Hamilton's life of luxury, do us a favor and click that subscribe button, turn on your notifications, and hit that like button.
It wasn't unimaginable, but I think it was seen as impossible. And however, I still dreamt of it. You know, I dream of going to space. I still may go to space. You know, so.
Luxury cars. Like many celebrities, Lewis Hamilton is a fan of luxury cars. It only makes sense that someone whose livelihood is earned driving Formula One cars would also be a luxury vehicle enthusiast. Of course, someone like Lewis Hamilton is not satisfied with your typical celebrity garage of fancy cars. Instead, he has a collection full of exotic cars that cost millions and millions of dollars. So here are a few of the vehicles in Lewis Hamilton's collection. Ferrari. A household name among luxury car collectors, and those of us who drive normal cars alike, is Ferrari. While other exotic car manufacturers can be obscure to those outside of the inner circle of car collectors, this name is one that stands out no matter who you are. So of course, naturally, Lewis Hamilton owns a Ferrari. But the question is, which one? Well, Lewis's Ferrari is one of 499 models of the Ferrari LaFerrari Aperta, which he purchased for around $1.35 million. Pagani Zondas 760 LH. This luxury vehicle was produced specifically for Lewis by Pagani, and is the only model like it in existence. It reportedly cost Hamilton around $1.4 million to purchase, but it's certainly not his favorite exotic car. Lewis Hamilton claims that the Pagani Zonda is the best sounding but worst handling car that he owns. Spoken from a professional driver, I think we ought to be able to take his word for it. This beautiful car was unfortunately banged up a bit when it came into what was called light contact with a stationary vehicle. Now Lewis is rumored to have been partying pretty hard in the hours leading up to this accident, and his apology, which stated, "I'm informing you because I feel like we all must take responsibility for our actions." Mistakes happen to all of us, but what's important is that we learn from them and grow, would lead someone to believe that this accident might not have been due to the Pagani Zonda's poor handling abilities after all. Yikes! Mercedes AMG GTR. After moving to the Mercedes Formula One team, it was only right that Lewis Hamilton acquire a street-legal Mercedes. Now he owns many, but it seems that Lewis's first love among the Mercedes line is the AMG GTR. This Mercedes can go from 0 to 62 in 3.6 seconds, and tops out at 198 miles per hour. This is nothing compared to Lewis's experience in F1, but as far as cars you and I can both drive, this one is fast. Now moving on from rolling vehicles to those of the air, let's take a peek at Hamilton's private jet and find out why it is that he no longer owns it. Private jet. The private jet that Lewis Hamilton used to fly around in is a red and flashy Bombardier Challenger 605. This particular Bombardier Challenger is one on the long line of Bombardier Challenger private jets that are used by businessmen. The pro athletes, and others among those who are rich enough to afford travel by flying with a private jet. Lewis likely paid something around $25 million for this bombardier, but his time using the jet was limited. He recently both began an intense process of limiting his travel to bare bones, which is still a lot for a pro F1 driver, and vowed to go carbon neutral all out of environmental concerns. Definitely not what you would expect from a Formula One race car driver, but we can respect the guy for his efforts. So his jet reportedly went out for sale. Lewis Hamilton both spent a fortune on this private jet, and then he sold it for a huge discount, which certainly cut into his millions. Luckily for all of us watching this video, there's plenty more cash where that came from. Coming up, we're going to see some of the real estate properties Lewis Hamilton has acquired for all his cash. But first, go ahead and please hit that subscribe button for us, guys. If you're enjoying seeing how Lewis Hamilton spends his millions, I can promise you'll love the other videos we have headed your way.
Put a picture of the plane up here. This is your plane.
Well, so we travel a lot. So
You better.
I love cars and I love planes. So
Houses. Kensington. Estimated to be worth about $25 million, Hamilton's home in Kensington, West London, is a stunning 6-bedroom, 4-story mansion with a huge kitchen and dining area, as well as plenty of space for entertaining guests. The property also contains a luscious garden and a guest house. Monaco. Monaco is a hot spot for F1 drivers like Lewis Hamilton. It seems that a Monaco phone book is basically a who's who of the Formula One world. Why is this? The Principality of Monaco doesn't levy capital gains taxes or a wealth tax, meaning that these super rich F1 drivers, along with many others among the very wealthy millionaires, can dwell here without having to bear much of a tax burden. Lewis's beautiful apartment boasts 4 bathrooms, a steam room, and a 300-square-foot sun terrace, along with a $15 million price tag. Wowza! New York City. Every big shot needs an apartment in New York City. It seems like this apartment, other than his private jet and main home in London, is where Lewis Hamilton decided to cash his proverbial and quite literal checks. This Big Apple penthouse set Lewis back an eye-watering $57 million. That is some chunk of change. The penthouse is located in the same building as celebrities such as Meg Ryan, Jake Gyllenhaal, Bella Hadid, The Weeknd, and Justin Timberlake and Jessica Biel. How good neighbors these folks are, we cannot tell you, but they certainly boost your status when they live next door. Wouldn't you guys agree?
the second half of the season really is often my favorite. When we start going over to Asia, like Singapore, and then just the journey from then is just, the journey towards the end of the season is, it's incredible.
And that's a wrap on how Lewis Hamilton spends his millions, whether it's the red Bombardier Challenger 605 private jet, the Ferrari, the Mercedes, the Pagani Zonda, or the crazy luxurious apartments and houses. One thing is for sure, Lewis Hamilton knows how to drop some serious cash. Which of Lewis's top dollar items would you like to take home for yourself? Let us know and leave your answer in the comments below. If you enjoyed this video, guys, please give us a thumbs up and hit that subscribe button. Until next time, guys, ciao.